Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this conversation with Sadhguru. My work as a journalist, I often find myself in some of the most troubled places on earth, and I realized just how little I know about living and life and how much there is to learn from Sadhguru. This talk tonight is done in partnership with Head Talks, which is basically the TED Talks of the mind, and we will be talking a lot about mental health as well as in our society.
Heart is also allowed.
Heart is also allowed, great. We'll talk a little from the heart as well as the head. Seldom do we see this number of people turn out to one of these events queuing for hours beforehand. But that really comes down to the power of Sadhguru and the visionary that he is. He obviously needs no introduction. As you know, he's a mystic, a visionary, a yogi, a teacher, a humanitarian, and someone that we can all learn something about how we live life. Just earlier, we were speaking in the green room about some of the atrocities and some of the things that have happened over the last few weeks and the sorts of things that we witness on a daily basis. And the kind of conversations that we were having in there, I realized just how little I know about living and life and how much there is to learn from him. So I hope that you find tonight, in a way, something that you can take away from his words of wisdom. So I'll pass it on to Sadhguru.
Jananam sukadham maranam karunam milanam maduram smaranam karunam Kalavashadiha Sakalam Karunam Samayadipate Akilam Karunam. Good evening everyone.
Sadhguru, can you tell us a little bit about that chant and what it means?
Well, I'm just not going by the word meaning, but the overall meaning would be, birth is a certain pleasure and joy, but death is compassion. When you have lived enough, the relief of death is fantastic. The worst thing that could happen to you is that suppose you have to live forever. And what we are calling as birth and death is just a certain amount of time and a certain amount of energy in play. Time-wise, no matter who you are, what you are, for all of us, time is rolling away at the same pace. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't hold back a day. You can't hold back a minute, but our life energies are in our hands. If we take charge of this, then in a certain way, we have mastery over time. If your experience of life, by taking charge of your energies, you make it very intense, then how you live, if you live here for a year, it may feel like you live here for 100 years because of the sheer intensity of your existence. And also in terms of activity, if you organize your energies well, what somebody may do in 10 years, you may do it in 1 year. So in terms of impact, if you live 100 years, you lived 1,000 years. So essentially, we're talking about organizing that we can organize and coming to terms with that which we cannot organize. This is where the equilibrium of life is.
You just said the worst thing that can happen is if you live forever. But what if that death is then imposed on you? So I go back to what happened on Easter Sunday in Sri Lanka and the attacks on various churches across Colombo, where 310 people were killed. I mean, what goes through your mind when you see this, I mean, some would say level of evil inflicted on man by man?
Oh, we must understand, evil has always been inflicted only by one man upon another man, never by some other forces. It never happened like that. No hand jumped out of the sky and did any evil to anybody ever in the history of humanity. It's always one person doing something horrible to another person. This could be done for economic reasons, this could be done because of egoistic reasons, this could be done because of wealth, property, so many things. But if we have a fight for something, let's say we are fighting for this flower vase, you and me. At some point if we fight enough, either some wisdom will arise in you or me and say, okay, you keep it, but I don't want this nonsense going on forever. It'll come somewhere. But when people believe that they're fighting for their gods, there is no compromise. This is what we need to understand. You cannot compromise when you're fighting for your god. If it's property, I'll give it away. But I'm fighting for something about which there is no question of compromise. So we need to understand this. It's not when events happen like this, terrible events like this happen, everybody for a few days they will feel all this and then they'll go about their normal business. We must understand the moment you believe something and I believe something else, it's just a question of time when we are going to kill each other. Maybe we will, or maybe our children will, or maybe their children will, but it's bound to happen. When you believe something, when you believe means just this, what you do not know you assume and you concretize this assumption in your minds and you gather numbers. If these 1,000 people here all believe one thing, and when we step out on the street, if they all believe something else, inevitably there's going to be a clash. It's just a question of time.
How do we deal with this though?
So, you have set up the menu, but you're surprised when it gets served on your table. Why are you surprised? It is bound to happen. It's bound to happen. All this talk about just adjusting and, creating little bit of peace here and there is not a solution. One fundamental thing that we should do in the next 25 years, if we are really concerned about the future of the world, because the day of the sword is over. Now it is a day of a deadly button which can do things that you can't imagine ever. Those kind of things it can do. Well, these deadly buttons are being spoken about on a regular basis these days in various places. So when this kind of capability is there, it's important in the next 25 years, we have to establish in the world, your religion is your personal pursuit, do whatever the hell you want. But it cannot be a national or global agenda. This must be set 100%. If we don't do this, we are not looking at just a few churches exploding or somebody shooting in the mosque or something else. You could have nations exploding into bits. A large part of humanity can go into bits because that's the kind of empowerment we have in terms of technology. It's not like you'll take your sword and kill 100 people. You're going to just take away millions at a time. So when this kind of empowerment is there, these kind of rudimentary beliefs, when I say rudimentary belief, I'm just saying, you believe something that you don't know. Let's understand the word belief first of all. I'll ask you a simple question, is it okay? Am I too abrasive for you? You said it's head talk. Suppose I ask you right now, how many of you believe you have two hands? Please raise one hand. Do you believe you have two hands or do you know you have two hands?
No.
If I start an argument with you that you don't have two hands, and if my argument becomes too powerful, one slap in the face and you know you got hands. So with hands you know. There are so many things you believe. What does it mean? It simply means things that you do not know. You are not sincere enough to admit what I do not know as what I do not know. Because you've not understood the immensity of I do not know. Only when you see I do not know, the longing to know, the seeking to know and the possibility of knowing becomes a living reality. Otherwise, everything I do not know, I just assume. What is the point of that? The moment you assume and you gather 1,000 people who assume the same things, and I assume something and I gather 10,000 people who assume the same thing, clash is inevitable, believe me.
But it's easier said than done to say, well, in the next 25 years we need to get out of this mindset.
Well, never before this was possible. Today we are sitting here just talking to 1,000 people, but you know that today we have means, what we speak here, we can make it reach the entire humanity. This was never ever possible. Many fantastic human beings have come, but what they could do was minimal, because when they spoke, hardly 10 people heard. Today you can sit here and speak to the entire world. When you have this capability, how come you say you cannot transform the world? We can. It is just that, are we committed to making it happen? I was just talking to somebody who is some kind of an expert on the internet. That's when I started going on YouTube and everything. This is about 12 years ago. I was talking to someone in United States who is some kind of an expert on the internet affairs. So I've never gone browsing or anything, I'm just busy with what I'm doing. So I just asked, what are people looking for hours on end they're on this net? So he very casually says, Sadhguru, about 70% is pornography. I said, what? He says, yes. I didn't want to believe him. I said, this is not possible. It can't be 70%. Maybe some people are looking up something. But then I check with a few other people, everybody says 70% of data is pornography. And they tell me, every year some 1.2 million children below 15 years of age are being sold on internet. What's wrong with us? I'm saying, when such a tremendous tool of technology comes to us, we want to sell our children? Is this how we use it? We want to change this. That's why I'm loud in the last 10 years, out on the internet.
Do you think, though, that technology is a good thing or a bad thing?
Technology is neither. The beautiful thing about technology is, if you learn to use it, it works for you. But who you are will decide how you use it, isn't it?
But how do you
So what we need to fix right now in the world is, who are we? This is what we need to fix. We've all become many things which we are not. Essentially, we are born as life on this planet. Rest of the things are taught to us, isn't it? Stop teaching all this stuff which makes us something other than human beings.
I mean, you can say this as Sadhguru, but how do you deal with a 15-year-old who spends 6-7 hours of their day on a phone, which then impacts their mental health, their state of mind?
See, being on the phone need not necessarily impact the mental health. But what is on the phone? That's a question, isn't it? Right now, at least in India, whatever they may be looking for pornography, but Sadhguru pops up. I'm telling you, I'm saying this with a certain glee, because you know, I'm just walking in Bangalore city. Some 12, 13-year-old boys, from a bunch of them, they say, hey, Sadhguru, Sadhguru, and they come running. I said, hey, you idiots, how do you know who I am? They said, no, we watch your videos, Sadhguru. I said, what? Your mothers must be forcing you to watch my videos? They said, no, in our class, all of us are watching your videos. I really inquired, and I find in every school that I go to, at least 20 to 30% of the children are watching our videos. I'm telling you, when I was 15, nobody could ever get me to watch a goddamn spiritual video. All right? No way. But today, children are watching. So, this is a new and a fantastic development. So, phone is not the problem. What is the content you're putting on it and who is putting on it? Children are putting? No, adults are putting. Everything has become commerce. So, children are playing video games. Whatever, some in India, some PUBG, what is it? Because I came to know about it because the Prime Minister mentioned this something. See, it seems whatever, 2-3 hours a day, you're practicing how to kill this one, this one, this one and this one, okay? I'm shooting. When I am 12, 13, it may be okay. When I become 18, don't I want to get a little real? Am I happy just shooting them on my phone? I would like to really shoot them, please understand this. You think I will be satisfied just shooting people when I think it's the right thing to do? Whoever appears, I shoot them on the phone. You think my instinct of wanting to shoot people that I see will be satisfied just on the phone? You are living somewhere. It's not reality. So when we are putting our children through this and we think they are violent, they are wrong, no, this is the kind of content you're giving them. Can't we change the content to whatever extent we can?
I mean, but there are a lot of studies that have been done that the internet is causing a lot of angst for young people.
See, these studies goes on about everything. What is not causing angst, tell me? Everything is. And these studies keep changing all the time. Yes, there is some kind of impact of a screen time because of the type of light it emits. People lose their ability, because they're going on this late night, they cannot sleep properly. Because they cannot sleep properly, next day morning there are many troubles. All these things are rolling up. Today in United States, they have technology de-addiction centers, where like AA or something, they have technology de-addiction centers where people go there and it's a big thing that you can live without a phone. It's a huge achievement that you kept your phone away for whatever number of days. So, technology is not the problem. Compulsiveness is the problem, isn't it? If you're compulsive, even the food that you eat, if you eat compulsively, won't you get sick? So for compulsiveness, there's only one cure, consciousness. There is simply no other cure. You can make adjustments. Can I say a joke? Is it okay?
Please, of course.
On a certain day, an office colleague, a young woman, asked Shankaran Pillai that if she could get a lift in his car. So, he took her in the car and he was driving. When it got a little lonely part of the road, he pulled the car aside and he suddenly became like an octopus. That is, his limbs were all over her. She pushed him away and said, "You fool, what are you trying to do? I thought you were a decent fellow and I came with you." He said, "I'm sorry, I quit smoking."
Then tell us, how do we get to a point of consciousness then? How do we not take our impulse from smoking to something else?
See, we are misunderstanding consciousness as just mental alertness. Mental alertness will help you to survive better. Consciousness is not about that. See, you know that you exist right now only because you're conscious, isn't it? You are conscious right now. That's why you know that you're here. Suppose you fell asleep. You don't know that you exist, isn't it? You don't know the world exists, nor do you know that you exist, simply because you're somewhat unconscious. Does it mean to say you're completely unconscious? No, you're still conscious when you're sleeping, but not conscious enough to notice the presence of many things. So consciousness is not whether it is present or absent, it is always there. The question is only the intensity and the volume of it. If we have to use an analogy, right now see, the lights are focused on us, so both of us are clearly seen. There are people hiding in darkness. Suppose you dim the light further, all these people will disappear, only two of us will be there. If you increase the voltage, suddenly they will all appear. They were always here. They were here all the time. Because the lights were dimmed, I could only see you and nobody else. If the lights were up, then you could see. This is all consciousness sees. Everybody is conscious. Question is how conscious. So to increase or to raise consciousness, what have we done in the societies? Our entire education system is just about survival, one being better than the other. How can you be conscious when you're competitive? When all you want to do is be better than somebody. Your only joy is other people's failures. How will you be conscious? When you're enjoying other people's sufferings, other people's failures. This is what being number one means. I am the number one means what? You're number 10. That's my joy. So I think this is sickness. From kindergarten, you're spreading this sickness into children and you expect them to be fantastic. It won't work like that.